Alright, so looks like today I'm narrating myself sculpting a table base. As you can see, the lines are drawn on there on the left leg, just to give me a rough idea of what my silhouette is from the side. Um, it's a tricky one when you're doing stuff like this because it's three-dimensional in every way. So, there's a profile from the side, but there's also going to be a profile from the flat, wide side to the front as well. It'll have shape all the way around it. So I usually start off sculpting, getting that side profile at least in one spot, so that I can then start shaping inward onto the piece, and also just getting my edges when I'm using the cutter that I'm using, which is an Arbortech Turbo Plane. It's my go-to. I use it on about everything. Um, you know, the first while is just roughing. I'm getting a side profile, and I'm just working all those edges because they work quicker. You're not going through as much material. And then also just kind of roughing out all my glued up stuff that's really pretty, usually squared up stock. I'm just kind of, sometimes I'll rough cut on the bandsaw just to save myself some of the sculptural time. But yeah, so here I am just going away, hitting that profile from the side. So the catch is you want to get one side really good, and then you go work on the other side to try and match it up, and then you start working that line all the way into the center. Or you get to the center and work your way out. This actually took, I do believe it was about almost a little under 9 hours of, of power carving, which is extensive. And a lot of that had to do with the species of wood I was using, which was rock maple or hard maple. It wouldn't even been my fifth choice to do, but it's what the client wanted, and I'm a pro and I work for money. So I'm like Deadpool without all the fun expletives on camera. Plenty of those behind camera, probably more. But because of the density of this lumber, it's very hard, it's very dense, very brittle. The time frame was a lot longer. If this would have been walnut or cherry or poplar, probably would have only been about a 6 hour job. I spent hours just roughing this out, one stroking motion of the cutter at a time. And you can see that. I mean, obviously I'm not making anybody watch anything short of 9 hours of footage except for my lovely wife who put this together. God bless her. But right here, I'm just kind of getting those shapes roughed out into what it is I need that final form to start moving towards. I've already got a side silhouette, if I'm looking at the side of that thing, already happening here on the right side of my arm. So now I'm just kind of leveling out that center, creating that nice curve. Yeah. And here I go on that second profile on the other side. And it gets tricky, if you're just getting into sculptural work and using these types of cutters, the more lines you can draw on the piece to help guide you along the way when you're tired, the better. I kind of skipped a lot of that, but also worth noting, I've probably logged over 12,000 hours sculpting. So, if I can get a few set lines on a piece and I need to boogie, I can usually get in there and get pretty close. And that was the case with this piece. So a lot of this is still just roughing out, getting my lines kind of straightened out, getting where the glue, the different blocks glued up kind of meet flush, where they still don't a lot of places where I can see right now in the footage. And a lot of it's just stopping and looking. It's you work on it for a little bit, then you stop and you look. And the reason I like doing that is you can get really dialed into one small spot on a piece and get so dialed in that you overdo, you take too much material off, or you get away from your overall visual. So it's important, I do it a lot, I step back and look, like, is what I'm doing in this one area congruent and working with the flow of the whole thing in a more macro view. So there's a lot that goes into this, and it's quite physical, especially when you're dealing with rock maple, and a little short of 9 hours with that thing in your hands, the buzzing and the just all the chatter, and you're holding a toothbrush will be difficult. It was difficult for days on end after this, but that's part of the job. So you can see here how I just made that motion. I've got my stuff pretty centered up. And now that I've got my two side profiles where I like them, I'm working from the inside out. And that's why I'm making that kind of diagonal motion. I'm starting to take all the things I've gotten kind of rough flushed and I'm merging them all together. So that's what I'm doing here. Now when I do this line, I'm going to have to go back up the top probably and round it some. Yeah, you can see where I did. So now I'm working on this interior profile. So now the side profile is good, but now it's also got to be three-dimensionally good from the big flat sides too. Also, the way I'm holding that grinder, and I guess I should let you know, I'm using an angle grinder with an Arbortech turbo plane attached to it. If you're not familiar with their stuff, it's basically a dish with a cutter on it, and it's fantastic. I've been using their stuff for over 10 years. No, I'm not getting paid to tell you this. I'm telling you this because I'm a professional, and that has become my go-to. And I have used the other ones on the market. This sucker is amazing. Matter of fact, in almost 10 years, that specific one I bought, that's only the second time I've bought one. I just sharpened them by hand. And it's lasted me almost 10 years. And after this one, I went and got a third one. The rock maple dulled it up pretty good, probably more than I want to sharpen. It was just time. So I guess there you go. They last. I mean, if they last me that long, I can only imagine if I'm an amateur just doing it every now and then. Just one in turbo plane is going to last you quite some time. So the point I'm making, or I'm getting at, is Arbortech is going to recommend that you keep the guard on your grinder, which comes stock with most 4.5-inch angle grinders, because it's a safety feature. Unfortunately, I can't stand that guard. It gets in my way and prohibits me from using it in certain odd angles or doing certain maneuvers with that blade that I need to do. So and I think I realized that in the first 5 minutes of using that tool, that for me, guard had to go. But I'm not advising that you do that at home. When you're first starting out, if you're new to this stuff, please use the guard. Time and practice you'll get comfortable, because it's dangerous. Although I will say, out of all the ones in the market, I find the Arbortech to be the safest. So anyway, now I'm working up that side profile. You can kind of see above my shoulder on the right where it's kind of that, it almost looks like a fin is starting to kind of happen. This, after the sculpture was jokingly named the whale tail table base by my wife and I in the studio. But yeah, so you can start to see how that long form is starting to kind of work itself out that I'm working on. To me, that's the process here. It's, you're pigging out a lot of material, getting your rough stuff, kind of getting a rough shape in there, and then you're going back and you're really refining. So this is how it turned out. Big table, a lot of rock maple, good bit of rosewood. It's a good piece. I'll be doing more sculptural stuff in the future. Feel free to leave some comments. I'm curious as what you want to know about it. Thanks for your time.